Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. We've covered a lot of different things here on the channel, and one of the things we learned at the Hall of Flame all the way back in Phoenix was about a group of brave firefighters from the Prescott area who perished in a fire that they were actually trying to combat. And here we have come to Prescott, and we're finding another piece of that story as we come to a special tribute to them. Now this tribute isn't open all the time, but it is in a very central place that is super easy to find. It's actually in the mall. So today we're going to go check out this interesting display and learn a little bit more about the people who fought that fire and ultimately paid the ultimate price. It is here that we learn about the Granite Mountain Hotshots crew, including all of these brave individuals. Their last alarm was 6/30/2013. Now, a lot of times whenever we recreate in national forests and things like that, we realize that we're going there knowing that it could turn into a bad situation very quickly. And these brave men were actually the people who, in a situation very similar to that, came to the rescue and wanted to help mitigate some of these situations that were going on right here outside of Prescott. So it's important for us to honor these particular people and talk about their legacy, and I think that it's great that here they have a storefront that you can actually come in and have a little bit more knowledge about the situation and also who they were. So we're going to go inside and we're going to talk about it a little bit, but I'm also going to give you a bio of the situation so you can kind of understand and put into context this situation a bit more.
Today we got a look inside one of the deadliest wildfires in U.S. history. It was in June of last year that 19 hotshot firefighters were killed in Yarnell, Arizona. Video shot by other firefighters has just been released, and Carter Evans has a look.
The video shows the intensity of the fast-moving flames the Granite Mountain Hotshots faced in their final moments.
Well, things are getting real active when that starts heating up.
As shifting winds pushed the fire and billowing smoke back on the command post, forcing fire managers to evacuate themselves, they were plagued by communication problems.
His old number, but I don't have his new number. Can you text it to me? I really need it bad right about now.
During the communication chaos, the Hotshots were trapped by 2,000-degree heat, surrounded by a 100-foot wall of fire that was closing in fast.
Breaking in on Liberty 16. Granite Mountain Hotshots. We are started at 4 in.
Their final radio transmissions were recorded on another firefighter's helmet camera.
Your escape route has been cut off. We are preparing a deployment site. We are burning out around ourselves in the brush. And I'll give you a call when we are under the shelters.
Shortly after, air tanker pilots tried to contact the Hotshots.
Division Alpha Bravo 33 on air to ground.
Firefighters on all-terrain vehicles raced through the active burn zone to search for their friends. When they found the Hotshots, it was immediately clear there were no survivors.
Now the displays here are quite interesting because they not only tell us a bit about the people, but they also tell us a bit about the fires themselves and some of the items that they might use. In addition to that, they have a familiar face right here. It's Smokey Bear. Okay guys, we were just talking to someone and they were telling us a little bit more about the learning center aspect of this particular site. Now they are eventually hoping to expand this to do a much larger presentation, but everything that you find here is something that could relate to not only the people that served on that day, but also firefighters in general. And so it's kind of an interesting place to come and learn. But something that you'll notice kind of surrounding me, all of these shirts. Whenever this incident happened, the firefighters and their entire fire station were basically fenced off with fences like these, and people came to set up memorials and wanted to pay honor to them. And along the way, they cataloged thousands of items which were left, not counting flowers. Amongst those, every single one of these shirts, plus a lot more shirts, were actually left or sent in to honor those firefighters. Now, these shirts are pretty interesting because as you look at them up close, they're from various fire stations, not only here in our country, but abroad as well. Just kind of showing you that this is a network of people and they do genuinely care for their brother because they know that they're all risking their lives in a unique way. And so I wanted to share that with you after sharing a little bit of the history of the actual people. But as we move around, we'll be able to see a few more displays, which are very fascinating. And I think that they're going to be very helpful to you. I do encourage you guys to take the time to look at the hours and make a stop here because it's definitely worth it, not only to honor those who have fallen, but also to learn a little bit more about the world around us so that we can know what to do and how the world around us actually works. Here we find a selection of the condolence letters that were actually sent. They have numerous ones of these, and you can find various countries for which have submitted these. And as you go through, you can actually learn a bit more about the various places that they did receive letters from condolence from, and it spans the entire globe. But you can also find some of the more unique things like the letters themselves here. And so this is a way for you to connect directly with the people of this region and also the people from around the world. Now, in addition to photos of the fallen, we also have a few other things here, including the 18 watch out situations, which they are things that these people have lived by and trained by. In addition, the 10, which is the standard firefighting orders, and then also some of the early fire shelters history is also located here. But in addition to that, you can find maps that would be like a daily reporting map so that you could see the level of the fire, where it is, the containment. And these would be something that would be given out daily so that they would know how they're going to go forward with the fighting efforts. In addition, there is this picture of this alligator juniper tree, and this was one of the things that were able to be saved. This is considered to be a champion-sized juniper, and it was the first nominated for the inclusion in the Registry of Big Trees in 1998. And it stands 26 feet around at its base, and it's a very popular place for hikers to go, as you can see here. However, it now also bears a plaque talking about the Granite Mountain Hotshots that were actually killed battling the Yarnell Hill fire on the 30th of June 2013. Now, in preparation for this fire, you can find various pieces here, including this, which has been blown up on this side over here. It has the Granite Mountain Hotshot Save This World Record juniper tree on 6/19/2013. And then it has some different names also attached to this. But then, just above that, you can see the hotshot crew in what was considered to be their last picture together. Now, not all of them are featured here. One was actually injured, one was taking the photo, and one was off at a different fire. But this is the last photo that we have of this crew, and you can see here they're smiling, they're happy, they're standing together in brotherhood. Now, the stories that we learn here aren't just about these individuals. They're about the overall severity of the situation when it comes to fire, and just how, even with all of the proper defenses, sometimes it can be very problematic and ultimately turn deadly. So by coming here, we're not only honoring them by learning a little bit and getting some brain wrinkles, but also we're continuing their legacy through our own actions and trying to take care of things. And this next section actually helps us to do that a bit better. This is from the Forest Service, and it tells us about how one less spark, one less wildfire. Let's go and find out what they have here. There are a lot of different tips for making sure that you're not part of the problem and instead are part of the solution. For example, here we learn about being ready and getting set and being ready to go. So it's very basic premise, but they also have some QR codes here so you could take these pieces with you so that you could really go into these and see how that they would implement into your own household. For example, filling out a family communication plan. Do you have one? Well, according to this, that needs to be one of your steps. You also need to be able to assemble an emergency supply kit. We've talked about that here on the channel a little bit, but this kind of goes into a bit more depth. And not to mention, with the QR code, you also have some pamphlets here which you can take with you that help you to know a little bit more about some of the causes and also some of the solutions. But it continues on, and we learn about landscape and burning debris. We learn a little bit more over here about campfire safety rules, which I think is so important, especially considering most of us are nomadic. And then we also learn about practicing vehicle safety and equipment safety. Now, we've been talking a lot about leave no trace, and some of the leave no trace principles align heavily with these principles, as they are about making sure your campfire is not only extinguished, but also that it is left as though it didn't exist, which means taking a little bit of extra time and making sure you're doing things right. And that's echoed right here. I think it's super important for us to also notice that in this section, they have signs like this: fire danger today. How many times have you been out on a forest road going camping and you've seen one of these? Well, if you've seen one of these and then still chosen to have a campfire, even whenever it's over here at extreme, then that's not good. You are definitely putting yourself and others at risk. So by learning from this section and the written materials, there's a lot of insight that can be gleaned away and taken with us. But there's a lot more to this, so let's dive in a little bit more. We also have Smokey Bear quick facts, which takes us back into time as to when Smokey Bear first was brought into the scene, but also when his famous slogan, "Only you can prevent forest fires," was first used. That was way back in 1947. And throughout this timeline, you can find out that a few interesting things here, including a 1984 Smokey Bear was honored with his own postage stamp. Bambi was actually the first face of the forest for fire prevention from Walt Disney. And also, Smokey doesn't wear boots. He has bare feet. Now, some of those facts are just fun facts, and some of them are actually important facts. So I want you guys to come here and read some more of those and deep dive into Smokey Bear. Of course, if you're interested in Smokey Bear a bit more, I did actually go to the Smokey Bear National Monument also, where the OG original actual bear comes from, and the story behind him, and it's quite fascinating. But there's a lot more to this place, so let's keep going. This is kind of interesting. This is actually a Incident Management Academy t-shirt quilt, and so here you see all of the various t-shirts. And after the passing of Tara McQuell's grandfather in December of 2012, she actually embarked on a project of making a t-shirt quilt using her grandfather's fire t-shirts that he had collected over 57 years. So this is a piece of that we can see here today. We also learn about the various things that have happened throughout time. This display right here says the 2011 season was the busiest in recent memory here in this region, which is Region 3, and they experienced fuel conditions and fire behavior that they hadn't seen in a long time. So as we're going through this, you can find a little bit more of what the Hotshots would actually be doing during these really terrible times. And again, it just shows you how quickly things can progress and what kind of tools that they use to prevent spreading even further. Throughout, there are various photos of the Hotshots and them getting out on the rugged terrain, fighting and combating the fires in a variety of different ways. This isn't an easy job. Trucks most of the time can't make it there, so they are on foot doing this just with the people and the supplies that they have around them. That's why it can lead to dangerous conditions very quickly. Now, in addition, this was kind of interesting because you can see that clearly there is fire going on in this area and they're cutting down these trees. But did you know that a fire can actually move within the tree? Here we see an illustration of that. So even if a tree looks like it is untouched on the outside, it could in fact be harboring embers inside that could be creating a combustible mess. Now, as we move to this section, this talks a bit more about the community itself after the loss of these firefighters. You can see some of the black and white images and also a few color images, and this is what the fences around the fire station looked like. These were where many of these t-shirts were placed in addition to various other items. You can see bandanas, flags, you can see the hurt and also the pain in each one of these. You can see that each and every one of these people was missed because they were loved, they were respected, and they were part of the very fabric of this area. Additionally, this is kind of interesting right here. This says Granite Mountain IHC Honors. At the end of our 2012 season, we continued a tradition of honoring milestones and achievements within the crew. Every individual has a unique and critical role to play. And as you're looking at these pictures, you can see them going above and beyond. And they have the actual honors here. The Big 7 award went to Travis Turbeville, and the Rookie of the Year went to Wade Parker. I also find it interesting that we can learn a little bit more about the Incident Management Academy, and it says that this was established in 2003, and it was in response to a large fire that happened. Now, this is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it actually trains in all levels of wildland firefighting and also incident management. And so here we can find a little bit more. They also have a few things that you can read here which talk a little bit more in depth about this. Now, this is also the group that's put together this display for us. And so I'm really appreciative that they have these educational opportunities for average everyday people who might not be as familiar with this. Now, in addition to learning about the individuals and also the 501c3 here, we also get to learn a little bit more about the different kinds of behavior that were experienced on the day of the fire. In fact, here they have the maps that would mimic what was going on the day of. So let's take a closer look at how quickly this accelerated. We go from Sunday at 10 a.m. and we continue to progress, and as we progress through time, you see that it continues to grow. And by the time that we get down to this area, the deployment site on Sunday at 5 o'clock, you could see that the fire had fully engulfed a large sector of this region, and danger was going pretty much in every direction. Now, right beside that, there is this article, which actually was written on March 11th, 2022, and it says that the 19 firefighters who lost their life in Arizona were likely the victims of the same kind of meteorological event that also caused a deadly plane crash in 1985. And as you read through here, it explains that there was a microburst, and the wind shear introduced a lot of different things that happened to these situations in both instances. So the similarities were very unique and very specific, and that's what caused it to progress so aggressively. They also urge people to give more information to people who are on the front lines through this article. And it says that if they would have had a little bit more information about these microbursts, that it could have had a slightly different outcome, and they certainly could have been a bit more prepared for this increase right here. So that is also something that we can learn from these events. In tragedy, we can also pull away stuff to help others in the future. So I'm glad that they are looking into this, but also sharing this as an educational opportunity for all of us to learn about. But there's a little bit more information here that I want to share. Right here, it says on the day of the fire line, you hike in 5 to 7 miles because, again, your vehicles can't get there. Then your saws go out, you start digging, you're burning, you have to go direct. You then end up doing all of these additional steps before then having to hike back out the 5 to 7 miles. But then it also goes into a little bit more detail about what's so tough about being a hotshot. And it says, first and foremost, there's the heat, but then you have to cut down trees, you have to mow through brush, you end up hacking up stumps, and it can be really tough work. And all of this is what that might look like at any given time. But you're doing this all while still in 35 pounds of gear on your back, and then you're trying to get to the next part of the fire. And so it is not an easy task at all. And a lot of times this would be your one rest and retreat. When you've gotten to a safe space, then it's time for you to take a little bit of a break. And you'll often see that during these breaks, it might kind of look like this. It's kind of an interesting look at the people who are behind this. But in addition, the Granite Mountain Hotshots physical training program is 4 to 5 mile daily runs, 5 to 6 mile full gear hikes, 50 to 100 daily push-ups, and 50 to 100 sit-ups. And so they would go through extensive training before they would even make it to the fires. They would not have the comforts of home, according to this, and it was excruciating. You can see a day at camp starts at 5 a.m. and bed, it's just at some point they lay on the ground and take a nap. So you might be scratching your head saying, why would someone sign up for this? It's because they want to make a difference and they want to do something to help others. And I think that that is so honorable. And so when someone you know has done all of this to go above and beyond, and then they perish, it's even a bigger blow, because you know that they were well trained, they were well versed, they were a team, a unit, and then this happened and all of them perished. Now, in addition to information about the Hotshots as a group, they have a bio for each of the Hotshots, so you can see who they were, what their nicknames were, if they had any kiddos, what something that meant something to them would have been. And as you read through this, it's just heartbreaking to see each of their faces. For example, Andrew Sterling here, his nickname was Stash. I think we can see why. He seems to have a mustache that he's rocking pretty well. He was actually named the Rookie of the Year as a 2011 candidate, and he did a lot of other things, including being a loving husband and father. So Thurston here, he was known as Swamper, and he was on the SAW team with Scott Norris. And he was also a loving father of 2. He was a devoted husband of 11 years, and he found joy in all that he did. He actually came here from Utah and had been a part of the team for quite a while. Wade Parker was the Rookie of the Year in 2012. And Wade was one of the younger people who passed away. His father actually coached him and influenced him to be a good player, and he played in youth sports. And whenever he joined the Granite Hotshots, he was only in his first season when this happened. Justin DeFord had been a member for 4 years and came with some experience, actually. He was born December 13th, 1988 in Baltimore, and made his way to this area because he wanted to make a difference. He was a devout Christian and actually went on to do a mission trip to Canada at one point before finding his way to be a part of the Granite Mountain Hotshots. And he was considered to be the life of the party, but he was social and kind. Right beside him, William Howard Billy Warnecke was actually just called Billy. He graduated from Hemet High School in 2005 and actually joined the Marine Corps at just 17. And then he found his way here and married his high school sweetheart Roxanne in December 2008 and started their life together. Kevin here was known as Wojak, and he was 21 whenever he passed away in the fires. His family has gone on to say, I'm going to miss his smile, his laugh, and the way he says, I love you. He was outgoing, and he could walk into a room and just start a fire inside of somebody. Travis Carter, he was a local. He was born right here in Prescott, and his family was grateful to the Lord for Travis's life. They said that he was married in 2005 to Krista Smiley, and the couple had 2 children. This is Travis Turbeville, and he was actually one of the Big 7 award winners in 2012, only a year before his passing. He was born in 1986 and grew up right here in Prescott as well. And as a child, he lived in the Groom Creek area and had a love for the outdoors, which ultimately led him to his work in firefighting. This is Chris McKenzie. They also called him McRib, and he was born in 1982. And they always teased him about his eyelashes, which they said that women would just die for. Chris was said to live life to the fullest, and he collected friendships like people, and he also collected shot glasses. All these things are interesting pieces that his family has attached to this bio. We also learn a little bit more about Anthony Rose, and he was known as Tony or Tone Loke, and he was a part of the crew for 6 seasons. And it says here he wasn't just a son, a fiance, a brother, or soon-to-be father. He was a hero to not only his friends, his family, but also his community. Now, he originally was born in Zion, Illinois, but he made his way here, and in 2013, he and his girlfriend moved to the Prescott Valley. Eric Marsh was known as Papa. He was in the service for 23 seasons, and he was a dedicated and loving husband and also son, and he was born in North Carolina before making his way this way. He was a part of the Hotshots organization that was said to be instrumental, and he helped to start the Arizona Wildlife Academy all the way from his living room. Now, this is Sean Meisner, and he was in his first season when he passed away. He was actually born in Goleta, California. Before making his way here, he enjoyed sports and played with many leagues and was an avid sports fan of the Dallas Cowboys. In 2012, he actually proposed on his birthday and was married later in September. The couple moved here in the last part of 2012, and not long after, that is whenever he passed away. Now, this is Robert Caldwell. They also called him Bob, and he said, "I'd rather die in my boots than live in a suit." Those were the words that he lived by. Robert was a kind of person that every person was said to strive to be. He was a husband that every woman dreams of and a father that a child could look up to. This is Clayton Whitted, and they just called him Clay. He spent 7 years fighting fires. He was born in 1985, and he and his 2 sisters were raised in the Prescott area. So another local guy. These people were the fabric of the communities and the backbone, and as you can see by their bios here, it tells a little bit more about the things that they were interested in, the churches that they were a part of, and the schools for which they graduated. Jesse Steed was known as Steed. He spent 11 years wildland firefighting, and he was actually born in 1976 in Cottonwood, Arizona. He loved to make people happy. He had a way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. And he served in the Marine Corps after graduating high school before ending up here in Prescott as a hotshot. This is Justin Persin. He served 2 years as a wildland firefighter, and he was said to love his family and his beautiful English lab, Champ, more than anything in the world. Now it goes on to say that John was forever grateful for the love and support of the Prescott community, which he considered to be a tight-knit community in space. Last but not least, we have Grant McKee. He was a digger, and he was in his first season wildland firefighting. He was considered to be a true brave heart. Born in 1992 in California, he made his way to Prescott, and he actually graduated from this area. He became a hotshot in 2013, shortly before this incident. Now there also is a movie that is about the hotshots that were lost on that day. It stars Josh Brolin, Miles Teller, Jeff Bridges, James Badgedale, Taylor Kitsch, and Jennifer Connelly. I have not seen this, so this will be something that I am encouraged to go and check out also. Before we leave, I wanted to share this last piece with you guys. This is actually the Granite Mountain Hotshots Memorial State Park, and you can find the Hotshots Trail itself right here, which is kind of interesting. And I found that this was very much so something that I would encourage you guys to check out. It has a trailhead parking area, and then you can actually walk up, and at each of the locations they highlight an individual hotshot. This is located outside of the Yarnell area, and you can actually go all the way up to the tribute wall and make your way out to the fatality site also. Now the overall trail length for the hotshot trail is 2.6 miles. The journey trail, which is the blue trail, is 0.9 miles, and there is a little bit of an elevation increase, about 1,200 feet. So this is going to be one that you want to take your time on. But while you're on this trail, you can learn a little bit more about the names and faces of each one of these people, and also be a part of the learning experience. I think that this is really amazing how that they have done this, and you can see at each one of these little points, you'll find a plaque with their name, their face, a bit more information, and you can honor these people by doing this. However, at the end, right here, you can see the fatality deployment site and also an observation deck, and then a tribute wall area also. As you can see, this experience, although it's a smaller building, has a lot of great information, and I find it's important for us to come to places like these because even though the material and subject matter is a bit harsh, it's also a story of triumph because you get to celebrate each and every one of these people, and I think that it's wonderful that they have their bios scattered throughout so that we can do so. I thank you guys for coming along with me to this important place. I hope that if you're ever in the Prescott area, you'll check it out for yourself.
Out on scene here, we're gonna try and do what we can with that valley and the smoke where it's kind of tough on us, but we'll give it a shot. Break structure 1, Bravo 33 on their ground. Breaking in on Arizona 16, Granite Mountain Hotshots, we're in front of the foot in front.
Got fire right over here now.
Bravo 33 operation, you copying that on air ground? Air ground 16, Granite Mountain, air attack. How do you read?
So, is Granite Mountain still in there?
Well, they're in a
Granite Mountain operations on air ground. Air Granite Mountain 7, how do you copy me?
Is that Eric? Granite Mountain. I hear saws running, that's not good.
Operations Bravo 33 is copying that traffic on air to ground.
Yeah.
3 operations on air to ground. Okay, yeah, I was copying a little bit of that conversation on air to ground. We'll do the best we can. We got the Type 1 helicopters ordered back in. We'll see what we can do.
Oh.
Bravo 33 operations on air to ground. Operations Bravo 33. Attack! Granite Mountain 7!
This ain't good, though. He's screaming.
Okay, unit that's hollering in the radio, I need you to quit and break operations Bravo 33. Okay, Granite Mountain 7 sounds like they got some trouble. Go ahead and get that. Just trying to get you on the radio. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on. Okay, copy that. I'll get with Granite Mountain 7, man. Bravo 33. Division Alpha with Granite Mountain. Okay, Division Alpha, Bravo 33.
I can't tell.
Okay, I'm here with Granite Mountain Hotshots. Our escape route has been cut off. We are preparing a deployment site. We're burning out around ourselves in the brush, and I'll give you a call when we are under the shelters. Okay, copy that. So you're on the south side of the fire then? Thanks, firm. Okay, we're going to bring you the VLAT, okay? Alpha Bravo 33 on air to ground. And Division Alpha Bravo 33 on air to ground. Division Alpha Bravo 33 on air to ground. Okay, we're working our way around there. We've got several aircraft coming to you. We'll see if we can't take care of business for you.
Make sure this guy gets in.
And Division Alpha Bravo 33, I need you to pay attention and tell me when you hear the aircraft, okay? Because it's going to be a little tough for us to see you. Okay, Division Alpha Bravo 33, do you hear a helicopter?
We're in Yarnell.
I need a clone of mobile so we can hear what's going on.
The road, it's by a mini storage right at the north end of town.
Great, that's right where we're staged.
Bravo 3, 1 engine 58.
So did they deploy? They say?
Now.
You got your radio on?
Yeah.
Hey Barry, we're going to reserve the Alpha pit.
Jason on?
The Alpha pit, 1545. 7, Bravo 3-3, you're on the ground. Staff Force 2, any copy, can you repeat? Group 1, Task Force 2, on track 3. Here you go. I didn't copy those. Yeah, fire from Lackwood and Midfield Drive intersection.
Hey.
Division Alpha, Bravo 3-3, on air to ground.
I can't hear anything from Eric.
Jason's trying to get this guy on now. Because that wasn't Eric that was calling on the radio.
Well, they did get a hold of Eric, and he's the one that finally told them that they were preparing a deployment site. And that he would call them when they were in, I think he said call them when
Division
they
Alpha, Bravo 3-3, on air to ground.
Operations on air to ground.
Operation 3-3.
probably in their shelters right now.
Any communication yet? No, negative. Tanker 910 thought he heard him, but I haven't been able to get anything.
No.
They're in here, right here.
Why did
right behind
Okay,
me.
I got it.
Yeah. So they were in.
Yeah. Why?
Bravo 3-3, Operations Muster. Do we have any firm location on where they're at?
No, I can't, other than I would say the southeast corner of the fire. So that's the best I can do in there where we had that wind shift and it did a slope reversal. Is the best I can do for you right now.
Affirmative.
What time did we hear that?
I got it all recorded.
You got it all recorded? Okay.
And right now it is 16:50. Is anybody else in here? This is the last person?
Division Alpha, Bravo 3-3 on air to ground.
You guys want to fire the vehicle down the road a ways? You want to go and follow him there, Jason, and then...
Division Alpha, Bravo 3-3 on air to ground.
They need to shut all traffic down.
Yeah. I like this shit. So how long's it been?
I don't know. 30 minutes?
Are you recording?
Yeah. I shut it off for probably 2-3 minutes.
Structure group 1, structure group 3 on your attack.
3-1, go ahead.
Structure 3, structure 1, go ahead. Yeah, I have a Type 2 crew here. We just pulled into Yarnell. Where do you need us at?
Being stage is small right there, right on the north side by the mini storage. Why don't you just take the north end of town? I'm down here on the south end.
Copy that. You want us to go back in the subdivision here or just stage along the road?
I'll wait here by our vehicles.
It's real dicey in the subdivision. Kind of use your judgment. We're just doing point protection, bump and roll on it.
We'll go grab you and then...
Copy that. We'll go back to mini storage and all. Just come back in there.
Kind of stage in there and watch it roll through and then grab what you can.
Copy that.
That's McVeigh, go ahead.
Way over there now.
Okay, are you gonna go get water?
Not in a good spot.
No. No.
We gotta get in there. We gotta get in there.
I know, that's what sucks.
3 yard ground.
Yeah, turn it off.